My mom said, "No dessert for your child, maybe he'll learn." My sister's kids ate every last crumb. I took my son's hand and walked out without a word. At 11 p.m. Mom wrote, "Mortgage due." I didn't get angry. I just sent a message that made him call me immediately. She gave cake to every grandchild except mine. I stood there watching her carefully slice the dessert Jamie had helped bake just the day before. He was the one who stood on a stool next to her for over an hour, measuring flour with tiny hands, asking if he could crack the eggs, begging to add sprinkles. She said no to the sprinkles because they were too messy. He didn't argue. He just smiled and said, "Okay, Grandma." Now we were all seated at her table, and the moment dessert came out, she placed a slice in front of Beth's twins, then her daughter, thick wedges with frosting sliding off the sides. Jamie's eyes lit up when she grabbed another plate. He sat a little straighter. Then she turned to me. Not to him, to me. No dessert for him. Maybe he'll learn. It took a second to register. Jamie looked confused, still expecting a plate. I asked what she meant. Learn what? She shrugged like it was obvious. Said she didn't like his tone earlier when she asked how school was going. Claimed he gave her attitude. I had been standing right there. He had said fine and then quietly added, "We had a sub today." That was it. No eye roll, no sarcasm, no disrespect. But in her eyes, that was enough to publicly single him out in front of his cousins and decide he didn't deserve cake. The same cousins who had spent the afternoon shrieking around the house, knocking over a lamp, throwing goldfish crackers at each other. One even told Beth to shut up. I waited for her to say something to them. He didn't. She just laughed, said they were spirited. Jamie, my quiet, thoughtful, sensitive boy, got nothing. I looked over and saw him still trying to smile like it didn't bother him. But I know that look. It's the same one I used to wear when I was his age, sitting in that same house, being ignored in favor of Beth. Beth had always been the golden child. Perfect grades, cheerleading captain, married young, 3 kids in 5 years. Mom treated her like a queen and her kids like royalty. Jamie and I were just extras. Until Mom needed something. I pushed my chair back. I didn't say a word. I took Jamie's hand and walked out. He didn't ask why. Didn't cry. Just held my hand a little tighter all the way to the car. That was what broke me most. We got home, changed into pajamas, and I let him have ice cream on the couch while we watched his favorite movie. I didn't mention what happened. He didn't either. Then at 11 p.m. my phone lit up. Mortgage due. No greeting. No check-in. Just that. I stared at it for a long time. She hadn't even waited a day. Didn't ask if Jamie was okay, didn't ask why we left. Just expected I'd keep doing what I always did. Step up when she needed something. I typed a message I never thought I'd send. Let your favorite daughter and grandkids pay for it. Hit send. 10 seconds later she was calling. I didn't pick up. The call rang twice, then stopped. Then it rang again. Then again. I didn't answer. I watched Jamie asleep on the couch, his bowl of ice cream half melted in his lap, one arm curled under his cheek. I'd been shielding him from her for years, but tonight had stripped away any illusions I had left. She didn't just ignore him, she made him feel small, and she did it on purpose. The 4th time she called, I put my phone on silent and left it in the kitchen. By morning I had 4 missed calls, 2 voicemails, and a string of texts. She didn't mention Jamie once. Not once. It was all about her mortgage. That the payment was due that week. That she'd counted on me. That she was stressed enough, and didn't need this kind of drama. Then came the guilt trip, how she always did everything for us growing up. How Beth was in no position to help financially. How she thought she could rely on me. She really thought she could humiliate my son and then come crawling when the money was due like nothing happened. I didn't respond. A day later Beth texted. Just a casual, "Mom said you're upset. Want to talk?" I stared at it for a while, then put my phone down. A few hours later she followed up with, "If it's about the dessert thing, I think Jamie might have misunderstood. Mom's under a lot of stress lately." That sentence made my jaw clench. Jamie misunderstood. That's how they'd play it. As if an 8-year-old forgot what he saw with his own eyes. His cousins getting cake and him getting told he wasn't good enough. A week went by. Then I didn't call. Didn't text. Neither did she. I knew she was stewing. She'd done this before, the silent game. But usually by now I would have caved. Showed up with groceries, fixed something at her house, taken her to a doctor's appointment. He expected it. Instead, I started making different plans. That third week, Beth called again. She didn't bother pretending anymore. She said Mom was panicking because the bank was calling. Said if I didn't help out, Mom could lose the house. I said maybe it was time her favorite daughter returned the favor after all these years. She hung up on me. Jamie and I were doing fine. Better than fine. I hadn't realized how much mental space she took up until I cut her out. I had more patience, more energy. I planned a weekend trip for just the two of us. He told me it was the best weekend he'd ever had. Then the letter came. A real one. From her. In the mail. It was 2 pages long, handwritten, and somehow managed to be both an apology and an accusation at the same time. She said she didn't mean to hurt Jamie's feelings. That he was too sensitive. That I was blowing things out of proportion. But she also said she was heartbroken that I would use money to punish her. That she didn't raise me to be cold. At the very bottom in small letters she wrote, "I miss my grandson." I stared at that sentence for a long time. Then I flipped the letter over and wrote back 2 words. So did he. I never got a reply to my letter. She didn't call. Didn't text. Not even a forwarded message through Beth. Just silence. It was the longest I'd ever gone without hearing from her. I thought maybe that meant she finally understood. That maybe, just maybe, she was sitting with it. Feeling the weight of what she did. The look on Jamie's face when everyone else got cake and he was left empty-handed like he wasn't even part of the family. But that's not how she works. A month later I got a knock on my door. I wasn't expecting anyone. Jamie was at a sleepover. I opened it and saw Beth standing there holding a gift bag. She didn't even say hi. Just pushed it into my hands and said, "Mom's trying." Inside was a Lego set. A big one. The kind Jamie always looked at in stores but never asked for. There was no note. No card. Just the toy and an envelope with a $50 gift card to his favorite bookstore. I asked if Mom sent it. Beth said yes and that she thought this was a step. I asked if it was an apology. Beth said, "She's not good at that, you know that," and added, "At least she's making an effort." I stood there holding that gift bag feeling more disgusted than touched. She thought she could buy her way out of it. Thought she could throw Legos at the mess she made and everything would be fixed. I gave the bag back to Beth and told her to return it. She didn't say much, just looked annoyed and left. That night I told Jamie his grandma had sent a gift. I asked if he wanted it. He said no. Just no. No questions, no hesitation. I didn't bring it up again. A few days later I got another text from Mom. This one short and clean. "Can we talk in person?" I stared at it for a full minute. I knew what that meant. She didn't want to talk. She wanted a performance. She wanted to do that thing where she sighs heavily and says, "You know I didn't mean it like that," and expects me to carry the rest. To make it okay. I replied. Only if it's to apologize to Jamie. Not to me. She didn't answer. I didn't follow up. I kept waiting for her to show up. To call. To make some kind of real effort. But nothing came. 2 weeks later, Jamie came home from school with a handmade card. Mother's Day project. Inside he wrote that I was his favorite person in the world because I always protected him. I cried in the laundry room. The next week I filed paperwork to change our emergency contacts. Took her off. Replaced her name at the school, at the doctor's office, even off the daycare pickup list. I didn't make a big announcement about it. I just erased her quietly. But I wasn't done yet. One night I sat down and made a list of every bill I'd paid for her in the past 5 years. I went through old emails, PayPal transfers, bank receipts. Every just this once payment. Every utility bill she couldn't cover. Every vet bill. Every grocery haul. Every sudden crisis. The total made my stomach drop. I took a photo of the list and sent it to Beth with no caption. She didn't reply. But I saw her post on Facebook later that week. Something about, "Not everyone who gives birth deserves the title mom." Passive-aggressive, probably not even aimed at me, but still. Said enough. I knew I was finally getting to them. 3 days later the phone rang. It was her. I didn't answer. She called again that night. Then again in the morning. Still nothing. By the end of the week I had 12 missed calls, a few voicemails, and finally a message that just said, "Please. Let's fix this." But the thing is, we weren't broken in some sudden, dramatic way. This wasn't about one slice of cake. That night was just the final crack in something that had been crumbling my whole life. She didn't want to fix anything. She wanted the script back. The one where I apologized first, soothed her ego and made things feel normal again. The one where I did what was expected. Instead, I was rewriting it. I went to the school to update the grandparent contact form. I didn't replace her with anyone. I just left it blank. The front office lady asked me 3 times if I was sure. I told her yes, I was sure. Very sure. A few nights later, Beth texted again. This time it wasn't polite. She said Mom was really not doing well, that I was being cruel, and that Jamie's not going to thank you for this one day. I took a screenshot, sent it to a friend, then deleted the thread. I wasn't interested in justifying anything anymore. Jamie was doing better than ever. He laughed more. Slept better. He was more confident. I noticed him taking more initiative at school, even asking to invite a friend over. Something he'd always been too shy to do. I hadn't realized how much he'd been walking on eggshells too, waiting for the next time Grandma decided he was wrong just for existing. She texted one last time that week. I made mistakes. But you're punishing me by using your son. That's not fair. I stared at it for a long time. And for the first time in my life I saw her clearly, not as a mother or a victim or some complicated figure I had to keep understanding over and over. Just as a woman who couldn't stand the idea of not being in control. She didn't miss Jamie. She missed access to him. The difference finally felt sharp. So I replied. You humiliated him to make a point. Now you're living with the result. That was the last thing I ever sent her. After that it went quiet. No calls. No texts. Not even through Beth. I thought she might show up at my house eventually. Or at Jamie's school. He didn't. I think some part of her realized she'd pushed too far this time and I was no longer interested in pushing back. I wasn't angry. I was done. And done is so much worse than mad, because done doesn't leave doors open. And then came the day I found out she tried to take out a loan. In my name. It started with a letter from the bank. Not an email. Not a call. A real envelope with my name on it, buried in a pile of junk mail. Inside was a notification about a pending application for a personal loan. $15,000. My name. My social security number. My old home address, the one I grew up at. My hands went cold. At first I thought it had to be a mistake. Maybe some scam. But as I kept reading I saw something familiar. The email address tied to the application was hers. It was that same AOL account she refused to let go of for years, the one she still used to sign up for grocery store coupons and birthday freebies. I called the fraud department immediately. Spent nearly an hour answering questions, verifying every detail. They flagged it, marked the account as suspicious, and said they'd begin an investigation. But one thing the agent said stuck with me. She had enough of your information to make this convincing. Most people like that, they're not strangers. I hung up and sat in my kitchen for almost 20 minutes without moving. She had stolen my information. Tried to take out money in my name. After everything. I didn't even cry. I wasn't shocked. I was just numb. I didn't call her. I didn't give her the satisfaction of knowing I found out. Instead, I drove to the police department the next day and filed a report. I had the loan application printout. I had the bank letter. I had everything. The officer I spoke with was direct. You sure you want to go through with this? This could get her arrested. I looked at him and said, she thought it was okay to steal from me. She doesn't get to walk away from that. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't payback. It was finally holding her accountable for something. For anything. That same night Beth called. I didn't answer. Then she texted, call me. It's about Mom. So I did. The first thing out of her mouth was, she didn't mean to. She was just desperate. I asked her if she knew. There was a pause. Then she said, she told me last week. She thought it would go through and she could pay it off before you noticed. That was all I needed to hear. Beth knew. She let it happen. She said nothing. I thanked her for confirming what I already suspected and hung up. The next day I went to the courthouse and filed a formal restraining order. Not just for me, for Jamie too. She wasn't allowed near my home, his school, or anywhere near us. She had taken everything too far. And then, just when I thought it was over, I got a letter. A long, rambling apology. Handwritten. But this one was different. She said she wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry I forced her to do it. She wrote that she was being punished for loving me too much. That Someday Jamie will grow up and wonder why I turned him against his own family. At the end she wrote, I may have made mistakes, but cutting me out of my grandson's life forever? That's something you will have to live with. No signature. No love, Mom. Just that. I folded the letter, sealed it in an envelope and placed it in a drawer labeled evidence. After that letter I didn't hear from her again. No calls. No texts. Nothing through Beth either. It was like she disappeared into whatever version of the story she was telling herself. Probably something where she was the victim, betrayed by her ungrateful daughter who twisted her grandson against her. I didn't care anymore. I was done making excuses for her, and I sure wasn't going to let Jamie grow up thinking any of this was normal. The police followed up a few weeks later. The fraud investigation had confirmed everything. The loan attempt was flagged and denied, and because of my report it went on record. The officer said charges could be filed if I wanted to press it. I thought about it. A lot. I sat with Jamie one night, just the two of us eating pizza in the living room. He asked if we could make cupcakes the next day. I said sure. Then he asked if Grandma was still mad at him. That hit me like a truck. He wasn't even upset, just curious. Like he was trying to puzzle it out. Like her love had conditions and he thought maybe, just maybe, it had been his fault. I looked him in the eye and said, no. She's not mad. But she made some choices that mean she's not safe to be around us anymore. He nodded slowly, like he didn't totally understand but knew enough to accept it. Then he asked if we could put sprinkles on the cupcakes this time. That was the moment I made my decision. I didn't press criminal charges, not because I wanted to protect her but because I wanted to close the chapter clean. I didn't want the court dates, the chaos, the emotional mess. I just wanted distance. Peace. And for the first time I had it. I did one last thing though. I sent her a final message. Not angry. Not emotional. Just honest. You don't get access to my son. You used him to hurt me. And when you couldn't control me you tried to take from me. You crossed every line. He will grow up without you, and it'll be the best thing I ever did for him. No threats. No insults. Just facts. She didn't reply. Months passed. Jamie's confidence kept growing. He made a best friend. Won second place in the science fair. Started calling me Chef Mom whenever I let him help with dinner. We built a life where the shadow of her didn't reach anymore. Then on Jamie's 9th birthday something happened. He got a card in the mail. No return address. Inside was a $20 bill, a short message written in familiar handwriting. Happy birthday. I miss you. Love, Grandma. I didn't even flinch. I took the card, walked to the shredder and dropped it in without a word. Jamie never saw it. And he never asked. That was the end of it. For good.